Men won't tell you this. Psychologists confirm. There's one truth about male behavior that terrifies them when a woman finally understands it. Once you see it, the entire game changes. And it starts with understanding the foundation of how certain men keep the upper hand. They don't need force, charm, or even constant effort. All they need is one thing: your confusion. And that is the truth. Most male power is built on female confusion. There's a reason so many men keep their words vague, their actions inconsistent, and their intentions hidden just enough to keep you guessing. Confusion is one of the easiest ways to hold power over someone, and when a woman is unsure of where she stands, she'll often work harder to get clarity, unknowingly giving more of herself in the process. This is why inconsistency isn't always a mistake, it's a tactic. Men who play this game know that as long as you're questioning his feelings, you're less likely to question whether he's actually giving you what you deserve. The problem is, this cycle feeds itself. You start overthinking every small action, giving the benefit of the doubt, and trying to fill in the gaps he leaves open. That uncertainty makes his attention feel more valuable because you never know when it might disappear. This is not about genuine connection. It's about control through scarcity. The more uncertain you feel, the more invested you become in chasing clarity, while he enjoys the upper hand of keeping things undefined. However, when a woman cuts through that confusion, everything shifts. The moment you understand that unclear behavior is often deliberate, you stop reacting to it. You see that this fog he creates is meant to keep you in place, and when you refuse to live in it, his main advantage over you disappears. That's the fear of a woman who no longer gives power to the confusion he depends on. And when you strip that advantage away, you quickly uncover the deeper truth that exposes his entire approach. The exact thing men fear you'll discover. This fear is tied to one truth that dismantles the whole game. His interest doesn't equal his intentions. A man can text you every morning, spend hours talking, and keep showing up in small ways without ever planning to move forward in a meaningful direction. Effort can exist without commitment, and attention can exist without the desire to truly build something real. When a woman doesn't understand this, she'll attach value to every interaction, believing that time spent automatically means he's getting serious. She'll excuse the lack of progress because she feels the emotional bond is growing, even if his actions never lead anywhere. This is exactly what keeps many women stuck, confusing his availability in moments with his willingness to fully choose her. The moment you separate interest from intention, you stop chasing potential. You see the pattern for what it is, a way to keep you emotionally involved without ever having to step up. And that's when his control starts to crumble, because the thing he's relied on to keep you there, your hope, is no longer something he can pull from you. That shift creates a kind of strength most women don't realize they have until they use it. The strength of staying aware while refusing to be pulled off center. That female superpower is something I call detachment with awareness. Detachment in this context isn't about being cold or shutting yourself off emotionally. It's about clarity. It's the ability to see his behavior for exactly what it is without getting pulled into emotional spirals that cloud your judgment. You're still capable of feeling deeply, but you no longer let those feelings decide your boundaries for you. When a woman can say, "I see what you're doing, and I'm not reacting to it," she changes the entire dynamic. This doesn't require a confrontation or a speech. It's an internal shift that's reflected in how she responds, or often how she doesn't respond. Men feel this change immediately, even if you never mention it, because the emotional reward of your attention is no longer something they can take for granted. Psychologically, this removes his leverage. Without the guarantee of your reaction, his behavior no longer has the same impact. You're no longer drawn into proving yourself, fixing things, or chasing resolution. Instead, you're holding your ground, and he now has to decide whether to meet you there or lose access entirely. And that's where the real danger to him begins. Not just in losing your attention, but in losing your confusion. Once you stop reacting, you start noticing. You notice the patterns, the shifts, the moments when affection is timed perfectly to erase doubt. That awareness is far more threatening to him than your silence, because now you're not only immune to the game, you can see exactly how it's being played. Now, let's look at what I mean there by explaining. The threat of emotional discernment. Emotional discernment is the ability to recognize when you're being influenced through tactics like love bombing, breadcrumbing, guilt manipulation, or gaslighting dressed up as concern. These patterns work because they create an emotional fog, moments of affection mixed with moments of confusion, designed to keep you off balance. Most people respond to that fog by trying harder, believing that if they can just be more patient, loving, or understanding, things will improve. That's exactly why these tactics are so effective. They rely on you filling the gaps with your own effort. The more you give, the more invested you become, even as your needs remain unmet. When you can see these tactics as patterns instead of isolated moments, you break their spell. You understand that consistency, respect, and genuine care don't come in fragments. They come in sustained actions over time. And once you have that awareness, his ability to use those old tricks simply stops working. That's what leads to the silent shift that breaks his control. One of the most powerful moments in this process is when you stop asking for clarity, stop chasing answers, and stop explaining yourself in the hope of being understood. Instead, you watch, you take note, and you adjust your actions without announcing it. This kind of silence is not withdrawal. It's a strategic reclaiming of energy. When he tests you and you meet it with calm observation instead of a rush to defend or persuade, it creates a disruption in the usual pattern. He's used to women responding with emotion, and when that doesn't happen, it triggers him to question his own position. Suddenly, he's no longer sure if he's meeting your standards or losing his place entirely. That stillness feels like power, because it is. In relationships, the person who can remain grounded when the other is trying to provoke a reaction holds the advantage. By not reacting, you put the focus back on him, and that's where he starts feeling the pressure. That's the real reason the silent shift changes everything. It forces him to sit with his own behavior instead of distracting himself with yours. And the more you maintain that calm authority, the more obvious it becomes that you're not competing for space in his life. You've taken yourself out of the race entirely, which makes you stand out in a way he can't ignore. Here, we need to look at why this level of awareness makes you rare. From a young age, many women are conditioned to earn approval, to fix, to prove, to explain. This creates a pattern where you invest in convincing someone to choose you, even when they've shown they're not fully committed. That training is why awareness is rare. Most people never stop to question the cycle. A woman who simply notices the behavior and walks away without ceremony is different. She doesn't need to make a scene or get closure through a conversation that's going nowhere. Her choice to leave speaks louder than any speech could. That choice forces a man to see himself clearly, sometimes for the first time. And because so few women move this way, the impact is immediate. It's not just that you're rejecting him, it's that you're holding up a mirror to his behavior and refusing to carry the weight of fixing it. That's a standard many men aren't prepared to face. But, hey, you should understand that. Men fear accountability, not drama. Drama is easy to dismiss. A man can label it as overreaction, tell himself you're too emotional, and move on without changing a thing. Emotions, even intense ones, are something most men expect and know how to handle in a way that doesn't require them to improve. Accountability is different. It requires him to face his own actions and either rise to meet your standard or admit that he's unwilling to. A woman who stays calm, clear, and walks away when those standards aren't met is far more unsettling than one who argues for hours. There's no noise for him to hide behind, just the reality of your absence. When you stop performing for his validation, the performance loses its meaning. You're no longer part of the show, and without an audience, his usual tactics fall flat. That's the real fear. Losing the ability to control how you see him, how you feel about him, and whether you stay. The woman who understands male psychology becomes untouchable, not through coldness, but through the ability to see the patterns for what they are and choose her response with clarity. Men don't fear your emotions, they fear your vision. And once you have it, they can no longer play a game you're not even willing to sit down for. If you have made it this far, comment down below with the word 100% to confirm that you have received the knowledge from this video. For more interesting topics, make sure you watch the recommended video that you see on the screen right now. Thanks for watching.